About 5 years ago, I was browsing YouTube as one does, and I got recommended a video for this game called World of Warships from a creator called The Mighty Jingles. Never heard of the game, never heard of him. But I had some free time, so I watched it. Ended up loving both. I still watch all of Jingles' content to this day. Only problem was World of Warships was PC only, and all I had at the time was a MacBook Pro. So I went looking for a console version and found World of Warships Legends was available for my PS4. Figured it was close enough, grabbed it, and liked it. Here I am 5 years later still playing it. And now, Legends is on Steam. I was in both of the closed playtests last year, and the public beta which just ended, which means I've had more time with the PC version than most console players have. And one of the most common questions I've seen, in comments, in chat during my streams, and from other creators, is some version of the same thing. How different is it really? The answer is more different than you might expect, and in some ways less different than you'd hope. Today we're going to cover the actual differences between the console and PC versions. Not just the visuals, though we'll get to that, but the UI, the navigation, the in-game HUD, the things that will actually affect how you play the game if you decide to make the switch. And I want to flag one specific difference right now before we get into anything else, because during my beta livestream, a viewer commented about it in real time, and another creator told me it was enough to make him stay on console. Stick around for that one. Let's talk about the visual difference, and I want to be upfront about something before I do. This video is in SDR. The PC beta footage I recorded was in 4K HDR, and I've had to tone map it down to SDR for this edit. The console footage was captured at 1080p SDR. I upscaled to 4K in post. So whatever you're seeing on screen right now isn't a fair visual comparison, and I'm not going to pretend that it is. What I can tell you is what I actually experienced sitting in front of both versions. The PS4 does support HDR. Legends on console is an HDR title. But honestly, I've never been fully happy with how it looks on my setup, either when playing or capturing the gameplay through my Elgato HD 60S Plus. The reds and oranges in particular always feel like they're trying too hard, oversaturated in a way that looks artificial rather than vivid. Now that could be my monitor, it could be a settings issue I've never tracked down. Either way, I've always played and recorded Legends in SDR on my PS4. On PC running at 4K with HDR enabled max settings and ray tracing on, it's a completely different experience. The lighting feels natural rather than pushed. The way the HDR handles dawn and dusk conditions, the way it renders fire and smoke effects against a low sun, the water reflections, it all just sits right in a way the console version never quite has for me personally. Now, is that entirely down to HDR? Probably not. Higher resolution, better texture detail, PC grade rendering at max settings. All of that contributes. But the combination of all of it on capable hardware is a genuinely significant step up from playing on PS4. I ran the beta at over 110 frames per second at 4K max settings, while simultaneously streaming and recording. That's not a spec flex, it's just context for what max settings actually means on a mid to high-end PC in 2026. The engine is well optimized. It doesn't ask for much to run well. If you want to see what the PC version actually looks like in HDR, my live stream VOD is linked in the description. It's the only video on my channel that YouTube has actually rendered in HDR so far. Fair warning though, there's no game audio on that stream. Rookie OBS mistake on my part. I had the mic and game audio on separate tracks, which works perfectly for recorded videos, but means only the mic comes through on a stream. I've since fixed my setup, but the VOD is what it is. The visuals are all there though. For now, let's talk about the things this video can actually demonstrate, the UI and the HUD. This is where you land when you boot up Legends on console. It's a screen we're all very familiar with. You get clickable tiles like Play, Ships, Commanders. Each one drills you into the next level of menus. Want to select a ship? Choose the Ships tile and it drills down to show you the tech tree for each nation. Want to check a commander? Commanders tile, then the list, It's a hierarchy. You go in, you do the thing, you back out. On a game controller, this makes complete sense. You've got a D-pad, bumpers, face buttons. Navigating menus with a controller is a linear experience, and this UI is built for it. Single button press to get from the port screen to your ship's commander. One more to get to the loadout. It's clean. And this is where you land when you boot into Legends on PC. It's not a tile menu, but rather your port screen, with the ship already in view and the navigation options across the top. Port, ships, commanders, all accessible immediately without drilling down. On the surface, that sounds like an improvement, and for some things it is, but there's a catch. If you want to get to your ship's detailed specs on PC, you don't right-click the ship. Right-click does nothing. Instead, you click on one of the ribbons on the left of the screen, the boosters or armaments section, which then gives you a path to the specs, upgrades, and statistics. On console, it's one button press from port screen. On PC, it's an indirect route, and if I'm being fully transparent, I spent a while trying to figure out how to see ship details. It's not intuitive at all. It feels like it was designed for a controller and was never fully adapted for mouse and keyboard. The information is all there. The path to get there is just longer than it needs to be. It's the same thing with commanders. You click the commander icon, you get the list, and then you have to click on the same commander in the list to get to their actual build and inspiration details. 2 clicks to reach something you already clicked on, while on console it's a single button press. This isn't a broken experience, it works. It just doesn't feel fully at home on a PC yet. The console navigation philosophy is baked into the menus, and on PC with a mouse, it shows. Right-click context menus would solve most of this. Hopefully that's on Wargaming's UI enhancements roadmap. Now we're in battle, and this is where the differences really matter, because these are the things your muscle memory has to relearn. Let me walk you through the console HUD layout before we compare it. On the top left, your minimap, whether you're spotted, and your detection range. On the top right, your ribbons, medals, and damage done. Bottom left is your player name, fleet affiliation, ship health, the ship you're playing, and available consumables. On the bottom right is your speed, your throttle position, your selected armament and ammunition, and any active perks. Here's the full side-by-side, including the original World of Warships PC game for context, because understanding where the Steam version came from explains a lot about why it looks the way it does. You can see that the Steam version largely inherits the WoW's PC UI rather than the console UI. Minimap moves from the top left to the bottom right. Speed and throttle move from the bottom right to the bottom left. Consumables moved from bottom left to bottom center. Damage, and this is the one unique thing about the Steam version, moves to the top left, which is actually different from both console and the original WoW's PC game, where damage sits on top right. What the Steam version of Legends really is, and I said this in my original walkthrough video, is a hybrid. It's mostly the WoW's PC UI with some Legends-specific adjustments, which means if you've played WoW's PC, the Steam version will feel familiar. If you haven't, and maybe most console Legends players haven't, you're learning a new layout. And this is what that looks like in practice on the PC. Minimap is on the bottom right, damage up top left, consumables and armaments bottom center, speed and throttle bottom left. It takes a few games to stop glancing at the wrong corner. I caught myself looking top left for the minimap quite a few times as I was playing the beta. Old habits, they die hard. I mentioned at the top of the video that one specific difference got flagged twice independently by 2 different people. Once on my live stream and again on another creator's stream. The minimap. On console, and you've been staring at that corner for years, it's top left. On PC, it's bottom right. That's a diagonal shift from one corner of the screen to the opposite corner. During my live stream, a viewer commented in chat that the minimap placement was hard to get used to. A few days later, while I was watching his live stream, Phoenix61 mentioned he'd watched my beta video and told me the minimap placement alone was a deal breaker for him, that he was going to keep playing on his Xbox rather than retrain his instincts. I thought that was worth sharing because it's not a bug. It's not going to be fixed. The minimap is where it is because that's where it's always been in World of Warships on PC, and the Steam version inherits that. It's not a mistake, it's a decades-old convention. So if you're a console player who's been glancing top left for the minimap since day one, that's the adjustment you're signing up for. For some people that's fine. A few hours and it becomes the new normal. For others, apparently, it's enough to stay on console. Neither answer is wrong, but it's worth knowing before you commit. So here's where I land on this. The PC version of Legends is a genuinely good experience. The visuals are in a different league for me. The performance, even at 4K max settings, is impressive. And for anyone who's been playing WoW's PC for years, the Steam version of Legends will feel immediately familiar. For console players making the switch, the adjustment is real, but manageable. The UI is navigable once you know the indirect routes. The HUD layout is different but logical. And the minimap, well, you'll find it in the bottom right corner, where it apparently lives in this part of the world. Whether it's worth the switch depends on what you're after. If you want the best looking version of the game and you've got the hardware for it, the PC version definitely delivers. If your muscle memory is deeply wired to the console layout and you're not interested in the retraining curve, that's a completely valid reason to stay where you are. My plan is to switch to the PC version of Legends. I've always just preferred playing games with a keyboard and mouse. If you made it this far, thank you. Drop a comment below and let me know. Are you planning to make the switch to Steam, stick with console, or play both? I'm genuinely curious where people land on this. If you haven't seen my original beta walkthrough or the Ghost Ship video, both are linked in the description, and the live stream VOD is there too. That's the one to watch if you want to see the game running in HDR. And if you're new here, welcome. I'm a very small channel, but the engagement on the past couple of videos has been genuinely humbling. Subscribe if this is the kind of content you're looking for. I'll see you all out there on the water. Catch you next time.